Hi there, my name is Josh Colchin. I'm the owner and founder of Green Hive Systems, and I want to walk you through a super basic workflow in Clay that I think anyone who's doing cold email can benefit from. These are things that I know you're doing manually right now. You're probably using a lot of VLOOKUPs, or you're uploading a lot of CSVs to different stuff to validate, to clean, to add enrichments, and then ultimately add it to your sending tool. So I think that this is a flow that anyone who's doing cold email can benefit from. And I absolutely think Clay is worth the money just based on this workflow alone that doesn't do anything extra. It's not super fancy. We're not burning a bunch of credits. We're not even using any credits, honestly. So I want to start off with just talking a little bit about like what Clay is and the way that I think people can use Clay. In my opinion, there's three main ways to use Clay. You have outbound lead enrichment, which is going to be what we're talking about mostly in this video. This is stuff where, you scrape a list and you're trying to figure out some little data points on these people to reach out to them in a meaningful way. You can also use Clay as an inbound lead enrichment tool. You're capturing emails or you're getting market qualified leads from some kind of funnel or lead magnet at your company, and you want to enrich some data on this profile and add it to your CRM so that your revenue team can reach out to them, or you can put them into an outreach sequence as well. Also, I think Clay is an excellent tool when it comes to enriching your current CRM data with actual data from real resources that are accurate. Because I've seen a lot of CRMs that have super outdated data, and it is a bummer. So for the purpose of this video, in general, you're going to be scraping a list or pulling a list from somewhere. This could be LinkedIn, this could be Apollo, it could be Google Maps. If you're doing some outbound motion, you're pulling a list from somewhere and you're enriching with emails. Now, in this case, we're pulling from Apollo and it already comes with some emails, but Clay is a really great tool to help you find more emails for the ones that you couldn't find. Now I know you're going to be validating emails. You're going to be uploading it to a tool like Never Bounce or Zero Bounce. And then you're going to be doing some cleaning up of the company names, removing stuff like LLC and just stuff that screams that you're an automated email marketer and you didn't send this manually. So you got to be cleaning that up. And you're going to be adding some kind of enrichments towards the goal of doing some kind of AI personalization. Because if you're sending any amount of these emails at scale, you need to be doing some personalization at this point. It's 2025. Everybody's doing this stuff. And you need to do it in a thoughtful way. So I also know you're going to want to be filtering and segmenting your lists and then ultimately adding it to a sending tool. Now, I think Clay does all of these things really well. Essentially, Clay is just a fancy Google sheet with a bunch of data connections into it. So now I'm going to jump into Clay over here and I'm going to walk you through this template that I use for anytime I've exported a list from Apollo. I just upload it into here and all of this stuff runs automatically. But just to walk you through this, and I removed the emails and first names from this just to protect their privacy, but basically you're going to get some emails, and then we're going to run it through email validation tool. I'm using LeadMagic in this example. At this point, you should usually be using at least 2 different email validation tools just to be safe. And we're also going to be normalizing the company name. Now, Clay has a built-in feature to normalize company names. It's good. It's not great in my opinion. So I still use ChatGPT 4o Mini. At this point, I'm using 4o Mini for almost everything. It's just so dang cheap. Like, for example, for normalizing this, it costs like, what is that? 4 thousandths of 1 cent. It's insane. So I use 4o Mini for almost everything, as far as like personalizations and scraping websites and stuff like that. But anyway, we'll get into more of that. So you got to normalize the company's name, and then you got to add some enrichments. So I'm using LeadMagic again here to pull back their profile search info. So this is basically just scraping information from their LinkedIn page. And then I'm also using LeadMagic to pull data from the organization's LinkedIn page. And then I'm also going to use 4o Mini in this case. Well, it's Claygent inside Clay, but we're using 4o Mini to go to their website and pull back some information on what their business does. Basically try and create our own business description for this company, all with the goal to feed into an icebreaker prompt that I keep over here. So I'm also using 4omni for this, where I feed it in a bunch of things like the company name, the headline we got from LeadMagic, and then the about section, other company data, and then our web research that we just ran on 4omni, and all with the goal of creating an opening line that is actually custom tailored to this prospect. Now, at the end here, you're going to add it to your sending tool. In this case, I'm using SmartLead. And then I also like to add these leads to my own database just to track what leads I've added where and when. So I do that in Airtable, and that's what this final column is here. So at a minimum, anyone who's doing cold email, I know you're doing this stuff. I know you're pulling in a list, you have a CSV somewhere, you're uploading it to a validation tool, you're filtering out the invalids and catch-alls, and then you're taking that list, and then you've got to normalize the company names, doing something. You're probably using make.com, or you're using some like Google Sheet script or something inside your spreadsheet to normalize the names. And you're probably trying to pull in some other enrichments using make.com or any of these tools like LeadMagic. You're just uploading the lists. And the great thing about Clay is it just puts all these different like data tools that we use and all these different like parts of our workflows now just in one single spreadsheet. And I can just upload a CSV file here and all this stuff just automatically runs. So I want to run you through an example here, uploading a new export of a list. So if we go import CSV and we upload a file here, this file is empty. Oh, brutal. Yep. Okay. This is the example. So this should be 1,000 rows from a recent Apollo export. Now, these should be all mapped up. That's the nice thing about Clay is it remembers your mappings. I think this one was getting a little funky. So website URLs, yep. Everything looks good. Now I'm going to add to table and I'm going to run. So this should add 1,000 rows to this table. And, like I said, I, hid the emails in the first and last names here just for privacy, but you can see the first thing it's going to do is it automatically is checking LeadMagic for the email validation. And the reason these didn't run is because we have a check in here that only run if email exists. So that's great. Now, anytime the actually returns with email is valid, that's going to kick off these other things down the road here, like normalized company name. So then we return a company name. And then as we scroll through, now we're running the APIs to LeadMagic to get the LinkedIn profile and the LinkedIn company descriptions. So these only run if we get valid emails. And you see all this stuff already happened. Like it's 100% automated because we're using these conditional formulas on each of these steps. So you can see only run if LinkedIn URL and validate email status equals valid. These things, you can just edit these or create these just writing normal human English. You don't have to be good at coding. I love this. You can just come in here. I just wrote only run if this field exists and this is equal to valid. And then it creates this, shows you it, output's correct. Terrific. This is so nice for filtering. So, then we had Claygent, 4omni, go to their website and come back with its own description of what the company does. And you can see this cost to go to this website with 4omni and just, go through a few different pages. Let's see what it did. It visited all these different pages and then it only costed, what is that? It's like 1/100th of a penny. It's insane. It's just so cheap to do this stuff. So then we pump it into our AI Icebreaker, and this costs, again, way less than a penny. It's so cheap. So anyway, this is for a client of mine. She's a fractional CFO and she works with emerging tech companies. So this is a list of different like people in Web3. And she's reaching out to see if they need help basically cleaning up their books or getting funding ready is really what she specializes in. So we've crafted this icebreaker to generate something that calls out something nice about them or something good in the news or a case study on their website, and then it asks kind of a leading question. How are you managing financial planning to support your innovative projects without stretching resources too thin? So then the only thing I didn't automate here was just add the lead to smartlead. And then I like to add it to my Airtable just to keep track of, how many leads we've added, how many leads, are valid or invalid. So this is a super basic way to use Clay that, again, I didn't use any credits because the only times I would have used credits here would be for LeadMagic, but I'm using our own LeadMagic API key. So we just pay LeadMagic directly because it's way cheaper. If you know what data enrichments you want, it is in your interest to go to that provider directly and buy a plan from them. And then you just use your API key inside Clay. So like I said, this didn't cost any credits inside Clay. And this is definitely worth the $350 a month or whatever it is right now for Clay at this level, to be pulling in your own APIs, your own data enrichments, adding it to your sending tool of choice, and then, sending it out to whatever database you want to do. So it doesn't have to be Airtable. It could be your CRM. It could be really any webhook anywhere. So I hope this is helpful. Clay can be pretty overwhelming. There's a lot to do in here. You can add so many different enrichments, but at its core level, Clay is so helpful for cold emailers if they just need to validate, enrich, segment, and upload a clean list to their sending tool. So I hope this was helpful. I'll have some resources in the description for you. Anyway, thanks for watching.